Of course, one of the biggest stories of the past couple of months was the replacement of Brian Johnson by Axl Rose for the AC/DC tour that has been going on, the Rock or Bust tour. And there has been some new information that has come forward that I just want to speak about very briefly, because I think this is pretty much going to be the conclusion of this story, and perhaps the one that does lead to some folks maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable with what happened. Either that, or it may raise a couple of more questions. Either way, this to me really feels like the end of the road for anything that has to do with this story. And it's principally because Axl Rose has started to do a couple of tours with the band. He was sitting down in the same crown used by, or the same throne that was used by Dave Grohl, because he had, I believe it was an ACL injury, and was sounding pretty good with the band, and recently he has now started to walk during the performances, and all of the performances have been getting fairly decent reviews. Now recently there has been some talk with both Angus Young as well as Brian Johnson that is seeming to corroborate the story that the decision as to how to move forward with this tour and how to move forward with the situation was one that had Brian and his interests in mind, where it was something where he was asked what the best course of action that the band should take and what he was comfortable with doing. That was something that seems to be corroborated a little bit more with the recent story where Brian was talking with a reporter saying that he felt very, very lucky and very fortunate to have the career that he has had, and that everything that's going on isn't necessarily any sort of death sentence. It also went into a little bit further detail as to how the deafness came about. It was apparently something that occurred while on a racetrack, and he was not wearing earplugs at the time, and it's something that's only deteriorated as time and performances around the loudspeakers and everything sort of moved forward, and that he was hospitalized a number of times based off of this situation over this past winter. So I really don't want to dive too deeply into this, but it's something where the corroboration of the story, the way in which it seems to be going now, is that Brian had a hand in making the decision to allow, with his blessing, that the band continue on with this tour with somebody else. Now, there's other elements that are certainly making this a little bit maybe difficult to believe for some folks, considering he's going to be contributing a track with a Jim Breuer album, from what I understand, and that there are some doctors that are working to hopefully get him a cochlear implant of some variety that does allow him the opportunity to perform once again. But he was talking and reflecting about his career, saying he's 68 years old. This year, he's going to be later this year, he's going to be 69, and it means, and it was not as though he got a cancer diagnosis. It was instead something that he sort of understood or could tell when it happened. It was not something that is necessarily going to mean the slow end of his life. It just means that his career may be running its last legs. You know, I know how to take this, I guess, at least from my perspective, because the last couple of times that we've talked about this, I've been a little bit more supportive toward the tour, considering it seems like it's one that has had the blessing of many people that are involved. It's one that has been spun and taken way out of control by those who just simply were unhappy with the decision and things of that variety. I even stated that the recent refunds of many ticket holders would probably be something that would be done, and likewise that those tickets would no doubt be repurchased by other individuals, and it seems like that has been the case so far, that anybody that has expressed their dissatisfaction by demanding a refund has had their tickets placed back on the market and have been bought by other fans. So, with all of this information being said, I really think that this story has kind of reached its concluding point, unless something else does either come out or go wrong. But Brian Johnson seems as though he's not only comfortable with this decision by the band, but it was also one that perhaps he had a bit of a hand in bringing about. I want to know your responses about this, considering there was some conflicting information that didn't seem to really support this idea back in the beginning. Whenever the decision first got made, there seemed to be some surprise among the Brian Johnson camp For it to now sound like he was one of the guys that gave this the okay seems a bit weird. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and once again, if anything further occurs in this situation, even though I'd rather move on with other things, I will definitely let you know. My name is CoverKillerNation, and I will talk to you guys the next time that heavy metal makes the news. Take care.